Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Joyful Balance podcast. Make yourself comfortable. We're going to take you on a really exciting journey of your brain, mind, and body. We're going to provide the human element to understanding the relationship between all of these three elements, and we'll share our personal experiences and guidance to enable you to feel less alone on your journey towards a healthier relationship with yourself and others. So I'm your host, Mira. I'm a nutritionist with a special interest in brain health. I've got my lovely co-host here, Denise, who's a cognitive behavioral hypnotherapist. And we've got an amazing guest here today, Andreea. And I'm going to let Denise take it away and introduce Andreea, and we're going to get straight into the podcast.
Welcome, Andrea. So before we let her speak, let me introduce you a little bit to Andrea. She's a NASM certified personal trainer and a Precision Nutrition 1 coach and mindfulness practitioner. And she has a strong interest in counseling and coaching clients. She has worked with clients from all over the world. She's done it online and in person. So, wow, before COVID, remember those times? And she's helped people lose weight, gain muscle, improve their fitness level. And most recently, she's become a mother of twins. So now she knows firsthand I'm sure she knew before, but now even more so, she knows firsthand what it means to be very challenged on time and how it is to, try to get back into shape after giving birth. So she will talk all of those things with us today. So thank you, Andrea, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Denise and Mira. It's an absolute pleasure and really an honor to be your first guest. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes, that's true. She is our first guest, guys. Whoop. Yay, yay. So we have a few questions in a true Joyful Balance podcast fashion. And I will just ask the first one. How do you find or achieve your motivation now that you have twins?
Yeah, to answer this as quickly and as briefly as possible, I would say that I don't rely on motivation at all, because a motivation, like a muscle, it's strong for a while, but then if you're just, this is the one thing that you rely on, it will loosen its grip on you. So what I try and do is create the support and like an environment where I'm less tempted by the things that I don't want to do. And I create habits of things that I really want to do and that bring me joy. So I know exercising brings me joy and makes me feel really good and happy. And I know that I feel really good physically, mentally when I eat well. So I just create a system where I make that possible, even now with twins, as much as I can.
How old are your twins, Andreea?
They're soon to be 9 months old.
Wow, that's kind of like my favorite age, actually. They've just sort of like put on a bit of weight, and then they're, kind of moving around, and
Oh yeah, they're very active. They started moving around everywhere and babbling, and they're very attached. So it's a lot of they need a lot of attention. You can't do much when they're awake, and their routine takes up a lot of my time as a parent. I'm sure every parent knows this already, or if you spend a lot of time with kids, you know how much energy they have.
For sure, yeah. So when do you tend to do your kind of exercise and take that time for yourself?
Yes, that's a very good question, Mira. So at first, what I did in the first few months, because I had a C-section. So again, depending on the type of birth, you want to consult with your gynecologist, with your doctor, before doing any type of exercise, to make sure that you're in a good health to do so. So as a PT, I would first and foremost advise all my female clients to do this after birth, to make sure everything's okay. Maybe they need an extra surgery in case you had natural birth, or even with C-section, some things can go wrong. You may need additional recuperation time. So first and foremost, make sure that you are ready to exercise. Me personally, I felt really good in about 2 months after my after the birth. Before that, I just took it really easy. I was really gentle on myself and trying to get as much sleep as possible. Sleep is, my number one priority still. But it's gotten much better now. And what I do to exercise, I walk which is something that I can do with the stroller. It doesn't like, I don't need my partner's help. I don't need a nanny, and my babies really enjoy it. And I'm sure, if you had kids, they really enjoy outdoor times, most of them. So I try and do at least like 1 hour, 1 hour and a half every day now, because it's summer. It could be 2 hours, 2 hours and a half that we're out and about. So that's like 10K that I do every day. I also signed up for the Frankfurt Marathon, so the marathon that's here locally, and I enrolled in a program where I run 3 times a week. Sometimes with the
Amazing.
stroller, I have a stroller for like jogging, especially, sometimes by myself. So again, it's trying to incorporate things that I can do with the babies, right? So like walking and running, and yeah, things that I can do by myself when they're asleep. So in the evening, because I want to unwind, I do some yoga or some stretching exercises, and I find that really helpful. Pelvic floor exercises have been really helpful for me. Thankfully, I didn't have a prolapse or anything like that after the birth, so I felt really good, especially core exercises. And yeah, I think for now that's about it. I don't feel like lifting weights just because I'm lifting,
I
eight,
was going
nine
to say
kilo
you've got
babies
like
every
2 like
day.
perfect weights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have the perfect weights, and I lift them up every day, and I hold them in my arms for quite prolonged periods of time. So for some reason, I don't feel like going to the gym yet, but as soon as I feel like doing so, I'll maybe try and do that in the evening again, because they tend to sleep quite early now. They sleep around 7:30 p.m. So I do have that time in the evening that I can, do things for myself.
Got it. So that leads me into very nicely into my next question, because when Mira and I were talking about you having you on this episode, we were just thinking what would be very useful for those of us, those of you listening to us. And we said, well, not everybody likes exercise, and sometimes people get intimidated by exercise, and they think, oh my god, I have to go to the gym, and I have to do this, and I have to get a personal trainer, and I have to do all crazy things. So what do you normally say to people who are maybe intimidated of starting? How would you advise them to get into exercise if they've not been one of those people?
Yeah, no, that's again, it's a very good question, a very pertinent one, especially because I think when most people think of exercise, they think, oh, gym, and it's hard exercises. It has to be strenuous, right? I have to hate it, because if I like it, it means I'm not doing something right. I'm not pushing myself to my limits, because, with the hustle culture, it's like you have to always push yourself and do more and be more and whatever, which is, again, at Live It, which is the coaching company that I created, it's not something that we endorse, because simply you won't be able to sustain that for long term, because if you're not going to enjoy it, you're going to find every excuse to not do it. And that's what I think most people do. They intrinsically want to exercise because they want to feel good. That's the underlying motivation, right? They want to feel good, they want to look good, because that will get them feel admired, and they will get attention from other people. But then their way of going about it is maybe not the best way. And to answer your question, Denise, is try and find something that you really enjoy. Like when I coach my clients, I always ask them, what is it that you really enjoy? Okay, you don't enjoy exercises, but then you really enjoy dancing. Dancing is also an exercise. You're not thinking of it as an exercise, but it actually is. So if you join like a samba class and you dance once a week, maybe it's too little, but 2 times or 3 times a week is something you can do. And again, walking, you don't think of it as an exercise, but if you do it over a period of time consistently, and you pair that with good nutrition and good habits, you're gonna lose weight, guaranteed. And a lot of people have, and in my case, I have as well. After birth, I have lost weight with, just like I said, walking. I didn't do any gym. Yes, I do spend a lot of energy with the little ones, but what I do every day is walk, and that's helped me lose weight. So it's a form of exercise. It's something you can do on your own. You don't need like a PT, especially. Of course, with a PT, you can achieve in a short period of time, those results, because not everyone has 2 hours a day to walk. So I completely understand that. It's like for some people, it might work better to go to the gym. I personally really enjoy lifting weights and going to the gym. I like to go somewhere and exercise, but again, I know that's not for everyone. I also like diversity, so it's really like looking inward and thinking of it like a personal journey. What is it that I enjoy? How can I find the time to do more of that, because that's what it is at the end of the day. If you really enjoy dancing, okay, how do I create a habit of like dancing a few times a week? Maybe I invite friends over, maybe I go to parties. And then the amazing thing is then you are consistent and you get to see results that motivates you, and it's like a circle of good things that kind of feeds itself.
I thought it was really interesting, this idea of the hustle culture. I think you're like I just wanted to touch on that like really quick, because I think it's actually a really interesting point about this. You've got this hustle culture, you constantly need to be doing more, doing better, push, and I've definitely done PT sessions before where like I'm not a very, sounds so random, but I'm not a very sweaty person, right? And the PT would like almost get annoyed that I wasn't sweating enough, and he was convinced that I'm not working out enough, and so he would push me harder to the point where I almost fainted. And it's like, wow. And it's I think that's a really interesting point about trying to kind of understanding that that's the landscape of the way that exercise is pitched at the moment, but that doesn't mean that you have to train like that.
Exactly. You're absolutely right, Mira. And unfortunately you had that experience, probably put a damp on you, and not all PTs are like that. And yeah, just to let people know as well, because I had friends and acquaintances and people told me that, yeah, I went to this PT and he gave me this super hard workout and I couldn't do it and I felt terrible, so I didn't go again.
Yeah, he was a lovely guy, but and I don't think I'm definitely not saying like all PTs like that, and you're right to point that out. And but I think this idea of hustle culture is a really, really interesting one, and definitely one to explore, I think, Denise, at some point a little bit more, and probably will come out in this podcast a little bit more.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I think I resonate with what both of you said, and for me, exercise has been for a very long time had been this, you have to do it and it has to be miserable.
Yeah.
And then I think at some point liberation was achieved for me, because I was like, I actually have to enjoy it. I actually have to like it, because then I will do it every day, because then it's not a chore. And now as soon as exercise turns into a chore for me, I'm like, no, because I'm I repulse chores.
Yeah, exactly. Think of like when you have to do your homework as a kid, you almost find any excuse not to do it. So same with exercise, like you have to really enjoy it. With hustle culture, yeah, these ideas are being pushed around like, oh, if you work hard then you're gonna get ahead of, but at the end of the day with fitness and nutrition, it's a battle against yourself, where it's, like I say, a journey of self-discovery, like what works for me, what body type is it that I'm most happy at. It's not the same for everybody. Not everyone wants to be a size 0 or size 10 or whatever. Not everyone wants to be super fit and super bulky. That takes a lot of work, and not everyone is willing to do that work. So again, it's what works for you.
Absolutely. I'm just wondering, who are, like, if you had the ideal client knocking on your door every day, who would that be?
Yeah, definitely one that's really motivated, that wants to make a difference in their life, that's really sad. Like I find a lot of clients are used to hard workouts and kind of expect that as well, and or come unmotivated, not sure what they want. And I've had those as well. And the end, when throughout our sessions we come to discover, oh, I'm really happy about it, I actually love exercising, I just, their mindset changes. Of course, now as a mom, I have the like firsthand experience of, okay, losing weight postpartum, training while pregnant. Like you said at the beginning of the podcast, like finding ways to maximize your time for yourself, so how to exercise. So now I have experience of that. So it will be extremely helpful for me to work with clients who have these issues, because I'll be able to give them more creative ways and work together to find creative ways to get to their goals, essentially.
And what do you think it's a realistic goal in terms of going on this journey of bettering your life through the lens of exercise?
Again, it depends on on everyone's personal circumstances and what they're willing to invest in this. Like I said, some people are really motivated. They really want to give it their all. They really said like, yes, I want to change my life. Yes, I want to change my habits. I will do whatever it takes. Those people have really set their mind like, this is no longer working out for me. I'm no longer happy where I am. I'm willing to make these changes, and I'm open to the ideas and to new ways of doing things. And those people can achieve results really fast and long term and be able to sustain them. For some people, it takes a bit of self-discovery. I'm not sure what exercises I want to do. I'm not sure I like working out. I'm not sure how to eat, how to cook. So it might take longer for these type of people to get to their point, and discover what is it actually that they want to achieve in fitness. And again, we in my sessions, we always start with the goal, like, okay, I want to lose this weight, or I want to gain this much muscle mass by this time. And we do it, we set a nutrition plan, like, this is how we're going to achieve this, but be open-minded. This will change. It's a journey of discovery. So we will work, every couple of weeks, we do a check-in session and we see, how is it that you're doing? How are you feeling? Is it working out for you? Do we need to change your macros? Maybe you're eating too much or too little. So again, it depends. You have to be flexible. Like, our lives aren't like a perfect routine. Things happen, kids. So, it's important to be kind of flexible as well, but at the same time, have that goal in mind, like, this is what I want to achieve, and have the strategy to be able to navigate that, given whatever happens in your life, in a way.
Got it. I think I would like to stay on this topic a little bit longer. And
Sure.
something else popped into mind, is that I think nowadays it seems almost imperative that everybody has a goal, and almost like you have to be this, type of horse that you just see that goal in sight. But
Yeah.
life's not like that. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to maybe, it's not so much as a question, more as a discussion. How do you see goal setting? Because for me, as you say, it needs to be quite flexible. I mean, but I struggle with the types of goals that are more rigid, because I feel like it's, in a way, what I'm trying to say is, for example, you want to lose weight and you go onto one of these fantastic fad diets, which I do not endorse, and you guys know that I so don't like diets at all. But they go into the program, air quotation marks here, guys, and it's like, oh, I have to lose weight by X month, and it have to do XXX and Y in order to get to that point. But it becomes very rigid, and it's almost like an all or nothing thinking that it's obviously not recommended in therapy and in life. So how should people look at goals? I think that's maybe the questions.
Mira, do you want to say something?
Oh no, you go first, and then I'll chip in afterwards. Go on, go for
perfect. So I would say that, okay, it's really important to think of this thing. When two teams are competing, right? Say like in a football match, they both have the same goal. They both want to win, but the goal doesn't guarantee success. So again, the goal doesn't guarantee success. So what you want to focus on and what you want to work on is your system, not your goal, because your goal is the result. But actually what will get you there is your system of habits. And that's really important, right? So what will get you those minus 10 kilos, 20 pounds down is your system. You're working out every day, or 4 times a week, let's say. You're eating well 80% of the time. So you're consistent with your nutrition habits, with your macros. You're getting your veggies in at every meal. You're getting your lean protein. You're getting your fruits. That will guarantee your success, right? It's not the goal. The goal, like I said, is the result. It's what happens when everything works out well. So yes, you can be very strict and that goal motivates you, but actually if you don't have the system behind, the safety net, like, oh, if I eat a chocolate for breakfast, or I have a cupcake as a work colleague brought it in for his birthday, that's fine, because I have a system where my lunch is packed full of nutrition, veggies and protein, and I'm working out later this evening. and I'm still going to achieve my goal because I am consistent over a long period of time. So it's sort of a mindset change where I'm no longer thinking, oh my God, I need to lose 10K. If I don't lose 10K, I'm a horrible person. 10 kilos, sorry. I'm a horrible person. I'm not, I'm no good. And what am I doing? And like, or this sort of like mentality that fat diets really thrive on, because you're gonna slip. Everybody is, because again, you see like that cupcake, like I said, and it triggers your already formed habit of like, oh, I see a cupcake, I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat it. It happens so quickly, it's subconscious, you don't think about it. But then if you kind of have a system to counteract that, or to allow yourself to indulge, because again, you're consistent, you have a well-formed system, but that takes time and work and patience. And again, it's just a different mindset. It's like comparing apples to pears. It's yeah, I hope that answered your question, but in a roundabout way, let's say.
No, I think it definitely does. I was kind of thinking, I think you kind of touched on this idea of like, there's a difference between kind of having a goal which can be quite fixed, whether that's to from a sports perspective, to kind of lose weight or be fitter, or be able to do a type of exercise faster, better, stronger, etc. But I think, and I really like the idea of having this, like when you were talking about having a system where like actually if you decide to deviate from that for whatever reason, for example, like a celebration where there is cakes around, but actually in the grand scheme of things, it just doesn't matter, because 80% of the time you're kind of aligned with what it is that you're trying to achieve. And I kind of thought what was also really interesting and potentially quite a helpful way of thinking about it, and it's at least the way that I try and approach goal setting a little bit more now. I'm talking more personally for myself, it's different for my clients, but it's more like, how do I want to feel? So like actually the number that I'm trying to achieve, or like the way that I want to either look or feel, whatever, is immaterial. It's how I want to feel. At least that's kind of where I am in my kind of journey on like in all aspects. So like as a brain health nutritionist and as someone who's had their own mental health struggles, like I know that I want to feel happier and calmer and more measured, and that doesn't depend necessarily on me like meditating like every single day and all those kinds of things. And hey, look, I'll hold my hand up, like, and we're not talking about exercise, but I have not meditated in a few days, and I know that okay, it's fine, it slipped because we had a long bank holiday. I know that I need to get back on it, and that's fine. And most of the time I do meditate, and I know that it's really helpful for me. So sorry, it's a really roundabout way of answering this question, but or kind of providing my own thoughts. But I think the idea of like approaching it more from how you want to feel rather than this needing to achieve a certain number or whatever, I think is perhaps a much gentler way of looking at fitness goals. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Second that, Mira. I'm the same as well on a personal note. I don't look at the scale like now I do, because I want to see where, because I'm starting to eat again more protein like based than before, so I want to see how that is going. But I don't care, because people look at you and they don't see a number. Like nobody cares, honestly. I think most people would tell you, they just look at you and see, okay, are you confident? Do you feel good about yourself? Do you feel good on your own skin? And do you have that joy and that vibrancy that I think everyone is looking for? So I'm the same. I'm more interested in, okay, am I happy in my own skin?
Absolutely. Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, coming from my previous experience of weight and weight gain, weight loss, I've gone through the motions of this setting your eye on the prize in the sense of a number on your scales, and it didn't work. I just wanted to share that with everybody listening. It does not work, guys.
No, it doesn't, and it demotivates you. And something interesting I've heard is that I don't know, Mira, I can tell you more because you're a neuroscientist, but apparently the joy you get from losing 1 kilo is just as much from losing 10 kilos or 20 pounds. Like the number doesn't differ. the hormones in your brain and the endorphins and all this dopamine, again, I'm not sure, Mia, if I'm using the right terminology, but they get triggered the same way if you lose 2 pounds than if you lose 20 pounds. There's no difference in terms of the happiness that you feel, but people kind of put this stop on their happiness. No, I don't allow myself to be happy because I only lost 2 kilos. I still have like whatever more to lose. And
I think that's,
we're kind of stopping ourselves from feeling the joy and happiness of like just being in this moment, like, oh, I've done like a okay-ish workout. Yeah, I didn't work out for an hour, but I still did half an hour. But I think most people would look like, oh, but I'm a failure because I didn't do it like 100%, or I didn't give it my all. But actually, if you put it in a more gentle perspective and think like, oh, I'm able to move, I'm able to do maybe exercises I never thought I could do, like do 10 push-ups or whatever. But yeah, it's very, I think that's something that I've heard, I don't know, on a podcast.
Oh, that's
but
really
that stayed
interesting.
with me.
Yeah,
And
I
they
mean,
said like, yeah, I mean, the happiness you feel buying a Volkswagen is the same as you feel as buying a Porsche, actually, like hormonally in the brain.
wow.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, the reward circuitry, as we say, in your brain, and like that release of dopamine is yeah, there's no feeling, I think, quite like it in a way. And I can totally, I mean, I've not heard of those studies personally, so I can't speak from a neuroscience perspective, but just from a personal perspective of like my experience, that makes total sense. And I mean, I don't suppose we hadn't planned to touch on this sort of discussion, so we don't have to have it, but I think it kind of leads into this this kind of stripping back of like, well, what does it actually mean to kind of I'm really gonna fluff this up, so apologies, Denise, for your editing purposes, but my point is like, we kind of look and we see like Victoria's Secret models and think that's what I'm supposed to look like, and it's like, and therefore that's the purpose of exercise, is just to achieve that aim. And it's like we're applying the pressure on, number one. Number two, no disrespect obviously to any of those models, but it's like that's not what like 99% of the world looks like, and that's not what you have to look like. And like the value of exercise is so far beyond like just the way that you look physically. It's also about, going back to what I was saying before, it's also about the way you feel. And like, study after study shows like how beneficial exercise is for your mental well-being. And I really like that idea of that positive reinforcement, where like you kind of, you're exercising, you start to feel better, mentally, and perform better physically, and as a result you're kind of like spurred to keep going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to come back to your previous question, Denise, on goals, actually, I found out personally, as well as working with my clients, that setting a goal of, like in my case, it was preparing to run for the marathon. My goal was to run, I don't know, was it around 20K every week, and that was my goal. Like I didn't have like an aesthetic goal, like I want to look a certain way or lose, I don't know how much weight. I stuck with that much more, and like I ran half a marathon already, because it was really specific. My brain understood like, okay, I have to run 3 times a week. It's one long run a week, and I kept doing that. And of course, the result was I lost weight, because before I wasn't running, and now I'm running. My diet changed for the better, so of course the result was I lost weight. But I didn't run for aesthetic purposes. I ran because it made me, it gave me clarity, made me feel good, and for the purpose of running a marathon in autumn. So again, like you said, it's a type of goal, right? Because I want to run a marathon, but it's not aesthetic, because it's also very hard. I think like if you look at Victoria's Secret models, first of all, they're usually white, right? They're usually really tall, and so they have a certain body type. If you don't confirm with that body type genetically, you're gonna look different even with that weight, and you might not be happy about that. So I think it goes beyond weight, or it's like realizing that it is very commercial and it's not for everyone, and it's not gonna make you happy in the end. I doubt those girls are extremely happy because of the way they look, because I know personally from attending fashion shows, it's a lot of work, and it's not for everyone, definitely.
It's definitely not for everyone, and it's also yeah, as you say, the genetics of it. And what I also wanted to point out is that, you know, the 90s, the early 2000s, it was all about that particularly skinny Victoria or whatever else fashion show was out there. And now maybe in the recent years, it turned into more of this Renaissance shape, I would like to call it, where your
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Where your lower half is, you know, plumpier than your upper part, and people tend to go down the route of that is the, you know, that's what beauty looks like, and that's how I should be as a woman, that's the curves that I need to have. And again, genetically, not everybody has those, not everybody's an hourglass shape. And yes, you can you know, improve your muscles and you can tonify them and you can lose the weight if you desire to do so. But at the end of the day too, if your body shape is not that, you are, you know, you're chasing your own tail, because you will never have that type of shape, you know, naturally, unless you go down the route of plastic surgery. And that's another completely different subject. But what I wanted to say is that sometimes goals are super unrealistic because of this commercialization of what a woman's body should look like, because we don't have it to the same extent with a man's body. It's like it's acceptable to have a, you know, dad bod and have a belly after the age of 35, but God forbid you're a woman, you have a belly. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's so true.
So yeah, I don't want to go too much into this subject. That would be for another conversation. It's just, yeah, guys, set up realistic goals and try not to set them up because of aesthetics. That's, I think.
Totally. Yeah.
Because it changes, like you said, in the 90s was really skinny, and then now it's big bumps, and who knows what's going to come next. And it's as well with plastic surgery, it's the game has changed forever now, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Anyways, coming back to our type of we have a saying in Romanian that doesn't really translate into any other language that I speak, which basically in English would translate coming back to our sheep. But it doesn't really mean anything. So
Wait, how many languages do you speak?
4.
Oh my God, I barely speak one.
Oh, I'm sure you speak more than one. Come on.
No, genuinely, I don't.
With your family, you don't.
I know. Well, no. I grew up speaking English. So I'm Indian by background, Andreea, and my mum, who Janice has actually met.
Lovely lady.
Yeah, well, when she's shouting at me, I understand what she's saying in Hindi and Punjabi like perfectly. But other than that, like terrible, absolutely terrible. Anyway, sorry. Carry on.
No worries. The way of saying that saying is that basically let's come back to our subject, but it says let's come back to our sheep. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, I have one more question for you, Andreea, and that is about food. So we touched upon it a few times. You mentioned that you're now looking a little bit more closely at your intake of protein. And I know you have been vegetarian for a very long time. So could you tell us, how do you ensure for yourself that you eat for your brain and body health?
Yes. So again, I'm flexitarian, so I eat fish as well and meat sometimes. But yeah, I've been a vegetarian for 10 years prior to that. Well, again, for me, what helps me a lot, especially now as a parent, is preparing my meals in advance. So we shop once a week, twice a week, and I know, like, okay, these are my lean proteins. I get some soy, some tempeh, some tofu. I get beans and legumes. I get, chicken, some fish, turkey, and kind of make sure I have a main source of protein every day. For breakfast, I have, cottage cheese or Greek yogurt, or, like, again, it's very diverse. I always have a salad for lunch, either on its own or with a source of protein like fish or soy. I make big chunks of food, so I then have enough for a few days. So like soup, like lentil soup would be one of them. Or fish or chicken. I can make chicken breast and have that in the freezer for a few days, and then with rice or with veggies on in the pan,
Mm-hmm.
and I can just reheat it for lunch and eat it. I'm good to go. I think that's kind of my strategy at the moment for survival in general.
Totally, it's a great
And then,
strategy.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then if that doesn't work, I fall back on like some simple sandwiches that I can make on my own, or I have a few restaurants I can order like healthier food from, like Greek restaurants, some Italian, Indian as well. I really love. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much about my nutrition. Again, it depends on your needs, goals, and obviously if you're vegetarian, then you have less sources of protein, but also you can incorporate more veggies, more fruits perhaps than like your everyday person. Depends where you are in the world. So I worked with clients who are in the city, who are working like, city jobs where, again, you're really time poor, you don't have time, but then you have services like HelloFresh, you have other services that can, help you out with cooking or serving you prepared meals, because it's important to have, I think, meals that are as whole and nutritious as possible and avoid processed foods, no matter what everyone says, like it's nutritionally complete. If it's processed, it's probably not as good as something that is not processed. Just because,
Yeah.
nature knows best. That's what I always say, and that's personally like what I found works best for me. Like again, I'm speaking purely from personal experience and what has worked for me in the past, and for my clients.
Thank you.
Well, you touched on a lot of important things that we talk about, when it comes to brain health, about, thinking about variety, good quality sources of protein, leaning on mostly vegetarian sources of protein, about having a little bit of meat and certainly fish every day. Like these are all principles of the Mediterranean diet, which study after study again has shown has been so beneficial for brain health. And I totally get it. And it's great that I think what's really, really great and really interesting is that even when, you're really time poor, which we, with twins, absolutely. And if you're working in the city, like it doesn't have to be a perfect choice. You can kind of make compromises, but still have a healthier choice. It doesn't have, do you know what I mean? Like, and I really like that because because then it adds a little bit of flexibility. That means that there's none of the guilt.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're coming to a close, if you were to share any words of wisdom with us, the two of us, or with the audience at large, anything that comes to mind, what would you share?
Wow, you really put me on the spot, Denise, but I'm joking. So yeah, I would say first and foremost, really invest in yourself. And what I mean by that is do whatever courses that interest you. Really do some self-discovery, find out what you really like, what you really enjoy in terms of exercise, in terms of leisure, passions, hobbies that you have. I think that pays out well in the long term. And create a system that works for you. Studies have shown that no matter how motivated you are, being in the wrong environment with the wrong people would demotivate you, and your goals will not be achieved. So, invest in yourself and find the people that resonate with, create a system that really works for you, and that will ensure you have the best chance of achieving your goal. So really, really give yourself the best chance of doing so. And it's hard work. I mean, it's not easy, but it pays dividends because time passes regardless of you investing in yourself or not, regardless of you looking after yourself or not. So why not do it? Work with a coach, work with a nutritionist, work with a PT, do that because it will pay dividends for you in the future.
100%. I absolutely with you on that. And I remember, I can't remember where it was from, so I'm not trying to plagiarize anybody, but there was something about taking a step every day for 365 days. You will be 365 more steps ahead. So it's true. Just, you have, even if it is something very small, you just have to keep on going and invest, as Andreea said, invest in yourself. I think that's great words of wisdom.
That's great advice. Yeah.
Thank you. And therapy can really help for sure. I mean, if you're a bit lost and you need someone, some like perhaps more objective advice, which maybe not, not everyone is open-minded, or not everyone has the support system, perhaps to be able to fall back on. A therapist can really help with that. So that's again something I really recommend.
Yes. I think in this forum, we all recommend that very much.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, totally. Speaking again from personal experience, it really has worked wonders.
Yes,
Amazing.
yes, that's what I meant. It's not just a shameful plug for each of our
No.
It's actually, it did work, guys. It did work. We would
No,
It
because I
definitely
mean,
did.
what we're saying is, choose whatever therapist, coach works for you, but do take that time and invest in yourself, because I think, like
Yeah,
you
I
said,
really like that.
all of us can speak from experience that it has changed our lives.
absolutely. Yeah, I think if we were to have this conversation 2 years ago, we would have been completely different people.
Yeah.
Oh no, totally, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Thank you so much, Andrea, and thank you for your words of wisdom. And
Thank you,
thank
Denise.
you.
Thank you, Mira.
No, thank you. It was a real pleasure.
Yeah, likewise.
And I'm sure we will see you and hear you again. And for you guys out there listening to us, thank you for tuning in, and give us a follow, show us some love, ring the notification bell. And yes, we need that. We're still at the beginning, guys. You can find us on all of the platforms that you can see down below. So we look forward to entertain you next time and give you some more information.
Perfect. Take care, guys.
Perfect. Thank you. Take care.